Welcome, everyone. I'm Kristen Watson, and I'm so glad to see you all here today. I'm the human rights investigator for the city, and if there's one thing that we know here in Iowa City, we're a community of learners, and as parents here or people who have any connection with children, we're always teaching them and interested in their learning and encouraging them. But our schools, I have never in my life, and I've lived in 6 states and 1 foreign country, and I've never seen better public schools. We have an amazing, extraordinary school system. And 84% of our graduates in the Iowa City School District intend to pursue higher education. And our dropout rate is less than 2%. I mean, that's extraordinary. And the reason is the teachers. Those are the people in the front lines every day, and they see our kids more than we do. So every one of us can remember a teacher that made a difference in our lives, and who, to this day, even if we're old, we can remember that teacher who supported us and who encouraged our dreams and who was a person who recognized who we were. And when we in Equity and Human Rights realized that this year was the 65th anniversary of Brown versus Board of Education, we realized we had an opportunity to allow students to nominate those teachers who were that person in their lives. And especially those teachers who were inclusive of all children in their classrooms, people who recognized the worth of every child and who made those children believe in themselves. So as you all probably know, since you're here, Brown was a consolidated case that began school desegregation in this country. Of course, it wasn't anywhere near the end, but it was the beginning of this sea change that resulted in better schools for everyone. And these teachers who believe every child has a right to their own education and every child has skills and abilities to contribute are champions. On the award, we put a quote from Rita Pearson that said, "Every child needs a champion." And these teachers are champions, and our keynote speaker herself is a champion. Dr. Cheryl Brown Henderson is the daughter of Reverend Oliver Brown, who was the named plaintiff in Brown versus Board of Education. There were actually 13 parents involved in that case, but Reverend Brown was the named plaintiff, and he was a champion for his children, just as Dr. Brown Henderson has become a champion for other children. She is a person who, as the founding president of her family foundation, has put libraries in minority neighborhoods. She has established scholarships for minority school children and established curricula for teaching the Brown case and so much more. She asks one thing of you, please, during her part of the program, don't record her and don't take pictures to put her on social media. You can, of course, record any other part of the program. We're happy if you are here for a teacher in your life and want to record the award or whatever, but please do not record Dr. Brown Henderson. Also, please hold your questions to the end. There will be a designated question and answer session, so think of your questions and hold them to the end when she's taking them. And also I wanted to mention that we could not have brought Dr. Brown Henderson here without the generosity of all of our sponsors. They're listed here in this slide, and they were very instrumental in bringing her here. She was also generous to us as well. And so please join me in thanking our sponsors. Now we have Jessica Ferdig to present the teacher awards.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Ferdig, and I'm an Iowa City Human Rights Commissioner. I'm happy to recognize some of the wonderful teachers that we have in our community today. Unfortunately, not all of our nominees and winners were able to be here today. We're sorry that they're not able to be here, but some of them had at least some good excuses. One is 6,500 miles away in Korea currently. But to be nominated for this award means that a student, or in many cases more than one student, thought enough of these teachers to take the time to write this nomination, describing the specific ways in which these teachers are inclusive in their classroom and the effect that they had on their lives and the lives of other students around them. Extra homework is not an easy task to get high school students to do, especially at the end of the year. The fact that these kids fit in these essays in between college applications, AP tests, finals, sports, activities, jobs, and all of their other obligations really speaks volumes about the dedication they recognize in these educators. Before recognizing our winners, I'd like to ask the nominees present to come up front when I call your name, please. We have certificates for each of you, but everyone please hold your applause until I have called all the names and all the certificates are presented, okay? First is Teresa Bozer, Spanish teacher, Nathan Fries, English teacher, and Teresa Jewell, French teacher. Congratulations. Photo op. All right, perfect. Thank you very much. I would like to note that nominees that are not able to attend today are listed in your program for you to view, and their certificates will be mailed to them. And now it's my pleasure to present our awards in alphabetical order by high school. When I call your name, award recipients, please come forward to accept your award. Students commented that this teacher was, quote, has a way of making every voice in the class feel important and valid, and that he, quote, has always made certain to celebrate differences in his classroom, and that we, quote, frequently have discussions about our cultures, backgrounds, and identities. One student wrote, I hope that I can one day reach the same level of boldness, unblinking courage, and self-inquisition that he possesses. High praise indeed. Congratulations to Tony Balcaen, French teacher at City High School.
Okay. Hi. I just want to say thank you, and I'm truly honored, and I want to thank my students who took the time to write Phil and Mariam over there, and yeah, thank you so much.
We will do a group photo after. You may return to your seat. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Balcaen. Okay, this teacher, who's a librarian, was not able to be here with us today, but has arranged for one of her colleagues to accept her award on her behalf. This teacher, quote, actively seeks out diverse books and other media that represent our majority-minority population, quote, takes time out of her busy day to mentor any student that needs help, and, quote, encourages all students to come to the library and be a part of the Tate community, said one nominator. In another example of very high praise, she says, she is the most open and welcoming teacher that I have ever had. Please welcome Yuli Gerlish, accepting on behalf of Lisa Petrie, librarian at Elizabeth Tate High School.
It is truly an honor to stand in for Lisa Petrie. I happen to share her library space and with my own work, and I too can attest that her approach is extraordinary. and she wanted me to read this to you. Good afternoon, teachers, students, community members, and distinguished guests. It is a tremendous honor to be receiving an Inclusive Teaching Award today. I'm humbled to be recognized in this way, and especially so because a student took the time to put my name forward. It is a goal of mine as a librarian to make sure that every student sees themselves in our library program and feels comfortable in our library space. I know this is true not only of the Tate Library program, but of every library in the Iowa City Community School District. The children in our community are lucky to be served by such a skilled and caring teaching professionals. Elizabeth Tate Alternative High School is a majority-minority school. We are approximately 1/3 Black, 1/3 white, and 1/3 Latino. Our students identify as Muslim, Christian, agnostic, liberal, conservative, and LGBTQ. Many of our kids struggle with severe emotional and physical health issues, and some of our students are young parents. While some of our students excel in the classroom, a good number come to us credit deficient. English is a second language for several of our kids. For all of these reasons and more, a traditional school setting is difficult for our students to navigate. But rather than meet them where we think they should be when they come to Tate, it is my goal to meet them where they are and help them move forward. Our library collection is a reflection of our student body, and we make it a priority to honor student requests. It is a joy for me to help a student find a book that speaks to him or her, either as a young Black male struggling with social injustice or a transgender student looking to find her way. If kids are feeling anxious or depressed, it is our goal in the library to be a welcoming and inclusive space and to connect with students on a personal level. It's particularly rewarding to collaborate with teachers on projects that allow kids to connect their personal experience with learner objectives. And we help our students acquire workplace skills by letting them assuming the responsibility of handling day-to-day library tasks. Whether answering the phone, fixing Chromebooks, or checking books out to other students, students gain confidence in themselves while acquiring important social and workplace skills, and they take great pride in assuming ownership for their school. I am not alone in creating an inclusive environment in our school. Our entire staff and administrative team is committed to helping kids overcome personal and social barriers that have held them back. I am incredibly proud to work at Tate and would like to accept this award on behalf of the entire staff. Many thanks to the Iowa City Office of Equity and Human Rights for honoring teachers today, and to Dr. Cheryl Brown Henderson for continuing the work of your father to ensure that every student receives the education they deserve. This award is a highlight of my teaching career.
Thank you, Ms. Garish. Okay. He does everything out of respect and the kindness of his heart. That's what one student said, and wouldn't the world be a better place if we could all say that? He, quote, makes everyone feel special, shows something new every day, isn't boring, listens to everyone, and makes his environment somewhere where everyone wants to be. Wouldn't schools be an awesome place if all students felt that way? And finally, he said, quote, not only exemplifies what a perfect teacher is, but also what a great friend is as well. One student said, as I quote, as I graduate this year, he and his classes will be what I miss most. What a lovely tribute. So congratulations, John Demory of Regina Catholic Education Center.
Thank you. I'm honored to accept this award. A couple of shout outs. Madeline Hamilton, a student who nominated me. Amazing teacher Barb Riley, who put her up to it behind my back. So the notification was a surprise. And to my beautiful wife, Allison, who encouraged me when I decided to become an art teacher a little later in life. What I need to say out of fairness is, teaching art it's easier to be inclusive, I think, because art itself is inclusive. There aren't a lot of right or wrong moments, just a lot of creativity. And fortunately for me, just about everybody at Regina takes art, and it makes me happy and makes me feel very lucky. Thank you.
And finally, we are on to our last award winner, who received the most nominations of all. 7 students nominated this individual. One mentioned that he was, quote, a driving force behind making West High's homecoming court more inclusive. So for those of you that don't know the significance of that, West High made national news when it did away with the gender roles that they had on its homecoming court. One of the first schools in the nation to actually do so. West now has what they call the Heroes of Troy, which is allowing for a much more diverse court. Another student noted that, quote, on the first day, he asked for everybody's pronouns and if they were comfortable with him using them. He always encourages discussions about race and why stereotypes exist. Yet another said, quote, he is always supporting his students and makes sure everyone feels safe in his classroom. And finally, he, quote, goes above and beyond to include information about the contributions of minorities to the field of psychology. And he tries his hardest to level the playing field for all of those in his class. With 7 nominations, I could obviously quote more, but I'll just say congratulations to Travis Henderson of West High School.
Well, I'm incredibly humbled by this award and by those statements. I wanted to thank Kristen Watson and all of your work putting this together and establishing this award, and obviously the Office of Equity and Human Rights for recognizing that teachers need a little love too, and kind of bolstering and encouraging us is really, we thank you for that. And also all of these sponsors for helping us put this event together. I also want to thank our district administrators, our school board, and my building administrators. Everywhere I turn, I get so much support in all of the things that we're trying to do. I think the school board has done a fantastic job of establishing the importance of equity. I don't think we always get it right, but I think we understand that it's an aspirational goal, and we continue to struggle towards that goal. And so I want to thank administrators and school board representatives for establishing a culture that is pushing for inclusivity even when it's hard. I also, as a teacher, I'm going to give you all some homework. I know it's summer, but I went into this year determined to make a difference when it comes to the reality that though our schools are often desegregated at the front door, they're often segregated in many aspects of the culture of our buildings. And I committed myself to doing what I can from a position of white male privilege to try to make a small contribution to changing that reality for my students. The homework that I give all of you is to think about places in your life where you have similar abilities, to identify places where you can break down barriers for people. It could be something as simple as recognizing that there are people of color and other marginalized voices around you, and simply stepping back and letting those voices be heard. And also identifying places where we can more deliberately bring those voices into conversation and make everyone feel supported and included. So your homework is to reflect on that goal. All of us, in every aspect of our lives, have opportunities to make spaces more inclusive, and I encourage you all to reflect on that and find ways to make a small contribution to the goal of social justice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson. With that and all the other inspiring comments about some truly inspiring people, make sure to do your homework. We are fortunate to have such talented educators in our district and such involved young people that nominate such amazing teachers. At this point, I would like to introduce the city mayor, Mayor James Throgmorton, who will present a proclamation to Dr. Brown Henderson. So please welcome Mayor Throgmorton.
Thank you, Jessica, and hi, everybody. It's great to see you this afternoon. And I want to thank Stephanie Bowers and Chris as well for their great work in organizing this event. Beyond that, I know there's some kids in the room. How many of you are under 9 years of age? Under 9 years of age. I think I see 2, 3, I don't know, at least 3 kids. When I was 9 years old, Brown versus Board of Education was decided. I grew up in a largely segregated city in the South, Louisville, Kentucky. The schools had actually desegregated in 1952, at least the public schools, but the city itself was still largely segregated. And alas, to a great extent, it still is. And there are reasons for that we don't need to go into, but they're important, and we're trying to deal with them here in Iowa City as well as in Louisville and elsewhere. One of the features of our segregated city is that there were no African-American leaders in the public world. And I want to use that as a segue just to note that there are at least 3 elected officials in the room. Ruthina Malone, where are you, Ruthina? In the back, member of our Board of Education. Hi, Ruthina. Paul Russler, over here in the corner. Good work, Paul. And John Thomas, member of our Iowa City City Council. Are there any others? Yeah, well, I didn't think so, but I don't want to make mistakes about things like that. Yeah, so it is my pleasure to read this proclamation, which actually I read in a city council meeting a week and a half ago, I think. So let's see how I can do this. The text is fairly small. Wish me luck. Okay, whereas May 17th, 2019 marks the 65th anniversary of the U.S. Supreme Court's landmark decision in Brown versus Board of Education. The landmark ruling that outlawed racial segregation in public schools as a violation of the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution. And whereas in the ruling, the court stated that education is, quote, perhaps the most important function of state and local governments, unquote, and that integration of schools was necessary for integration of society as a whole. And whereas the decision was only the beginning of the process, not nearly the end, it laid the groundwork for such events as National Guard protection of the Little Rock Nine, the 1958 March for Integrated Schools, and the Civil Rights Movement in general. And whereas the City of Iowa City Office of Human Rights and Equity, with co-sponsorship from the University of Iowa College of Education, Center for Human Rights, College of Law and Student Legal Services, as well as the City of Literature and the University of Iowa Community Credit Union, has engaged Dr. Cheryl Brown Henderson as keynote speaker for an event celebrating this anniversary of the Brown decision, with inclusive high school teaching awards to be held, that is being held, at the Iowa City Public Library on June 28th at 1:30 p.m. And whereas Dr. Brown Henderson, who is the daughter of Reverend Oliver Brown, named plaintiff in Brown versus Board of Education, and one of few remaining people with personal knowledge of the case, has dedicated her life to education and the Brown Foundation. Now, therefore, I, James A. Throgmorton, Mayor of Iowa City, do hereby proclaim May 17, 2019 to be observed as Brown versus Board of Education Day in Iowa City, and encourage community members to attend the 65th anniversary celebration and Inclusive Teaching Awards event on June the 28th. So many of you did. Thank you for coming. It's really a pleasure to be able to read that proclamation. And I can tell you, speaking as an individual, not so much as mayor, I don't know that our current Supreme Court would have approved this. So I think there's a lot of work that has to be done. And if it's not done, we're going in the wrong direction. So I encourage you all, using your own judgment, to do what you can to ensure that the legacy of Brown versus Education is not eradicated by actions that are taking place in our time. Okay, enough grandstanding on my part. So it's now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Daniel Clay. Dr. Clay is professor and dean of the University of Iowa College of Education. He is a nationally recognized scholar and fellow of the American Educational Research Association and the American Psychological Association. He has authored the award-winning book, Helping School Children with Chronic Health Conditions, A Practical Guide. Dr. Clay's most recent research has focused on reintegrating children who have experienced chronic illness back into schools and communities. So please help me in welcoming Dr. Clay.
Thank you for that nice introduction. I wish my mom could be here to see the mayor introduce me. First, I want to give a personal thank you to those teachers that were nominated and who won awards today. What an important model you are for your fellow educators, for the students, and of course for all of us as well. All four awardees today are graduates of the University of Iowa. And that makes us very, very proud of the work that you're doing. So thank you very much and congratulations.